in this world, like you mentioned earlier, it's a scary place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my advice to parents would be just don't be naive, because evil comes in like all different forms.
Right.
And if your kids tell you that something's going on with them, you have to listen to them.
Thank you for coming out here. And we have the lovely and gorgeous and amazing Shauna Fox.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, you've just inspired me since day one of meeting you, and just everything that you've gone through and who you are as a person is something, one, you should just be really proud of.
Thank you.
I mean,
so much.
It's your journey's been a journey.
It's been a journey.
Yeah.
I'm still on the journey, but it's definitely better.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I have to know and learn more about this, journey of yours of getting baptized. And if you don't mind sharing about that. I mean, I haven't had the time to be able to talk to you about it, but I saw, and, I had texted you briefly, but I'm proud of you for that. But I mean, I'd love to hear about how that all transpired. And
oh gosh, it's a lot, and it's totally extreme that it happened. Like, I still sit here today and I'm like, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm a completely different person. It's like unfathomable to me. Mm-hmm. It's hard to put into words, honestly. To keep the longest story short, I just found myself.
We want the long story.
You want the long story?
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, where do I start? I grew up in the church. I grew up Mormon.
Okay.
I think I shared that with you.
You did share that with me.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so anybody familiar with the LDS church knows that it's it's a strict religion. Mm-hmm. It is. And so growing up Mormon was interesting. I'm not Mormon now, but there are a lot of things that I took away from that. But I fell away from church and religion altogether about 8 years ago, actually. And I had gone through so much in my life, and from the point of where I still believed in God, and up until like present years, I had gone through so much that I thought, if there's a God, like, why would I have had to endure all these things? Mm-hmm. So it got to the point for me where I was like, there's no God. Mm-hmm. There's no God. I'm on my own. All these things that I'm making it out of, I'm pulling myself out of. All these things that I'm doing myself. And so it got to be in most recent years to where I was so far from my faith it's always been in my heart. Mm-hmm. I know that now, looking back. Mm-hmm. I know that now. But I was so like just shutting the door in his face and not giving any credit and not letting him in. But I was so far from my faith and starting to do things that were so far from like who I really am and where my heart really is. And I woke up one day. I was making some crazy decisions. I was
like, what? Like,
I mean, most specifically, like what stands out. And I hate that I just like revert to this every time, because I feel like I still feel in a way like it defines who I was at that moment. But I was doing OnlyFans. Mm-hmm. I had danced in the past, which I had like gotten myself out of. But the OnlyFans and doing Playboy for me was really where I looked at myself and I was like, what in the world are you doing and who are you? And so
what made you curious about getting into that? Like, has it something, I mean, if you danced in the past, was it when OnlyFans became popular, was it something that you looked at and thought, I wonder what it'd like to do that at the beginning stages? Or was it more an instant, like, I'm going to do this, I'm doing it, and now I'm in it?
Yeah. So it had crossed my mind as a fleeting thought when I first heard about it. Like, oh, I can whatever. Because I had worked in the adult industry before and I was successful. I made a really good living for myself, and I was able to get myself where I am now professionally because of that start. And I give it that credit. But fast forward to now, and I didn't know this at the time, but I had gotten out of a really, really bad situation, a really, really bad relationship that I was in, which I am grateful that I even did, that I even like have my mental health back now, if that makes sense. And a lot of the abuse that I endured during that relationship was sexual. And for me, I think partially I was grasping back at reclaiming myself and what I knew I was good at and how I knew I could control certain situations. And I looked at that opportunity as something that I could do, and I could kill it, and I could make that decision on my own. And I was also sort of in this like whirlwind of like being super lost at the same time. So I think it was like this combination, but it wasn't something that I was like super confident in, really like deep down. I was like always not okay with it. It always felt weird.
Did it feel like a level of control, like encountering sexual abuse and going through something so terrific, you know, where you lose that control for yourself?
Yeah.
Was that a way of having control over your body?
Absolutely. And I most recently went through this incredible course through my church, which was so unexpected to go through a sexual integrity course through church. And it wasn't like super Bible related or super religion based, but it was held at our church. And it actually went through like the fundamentals of like what happens to your brain at an early age when I have a long history of sexual abuse starting from when I was about 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so for me, I'm learning, and I know now from this, what I've learned, things that happen to us when we're really young really do wire who we become when we're older.
Of course. Yeah.
You know, so I felt for so long, and not even really realizing it, I viewed myself, my most worth is being a sexual person.
Right.
And that's what I was good at. And that's what I had to offer. And that's what people wanted from me. So that was, I think, like one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah. And how have you gone through therapy?
I have been in therapy. Yeah. I've been in therapy, but since then, I don't need therapy anymore. I mean, I feel completely freed of all of that. It's completely behind me. I don't have any shame or guilt. I don't like thinking about it on a day-to-day basis because it grosses me out.
Right.
But it's not something where I feel like I have to work through and sift through anymore.
Do you have trust issues around that? I mean, it's kind of, you know, like for me, I grew up in a household of, you know, my mom was single parent and raised us at a really young age and then got remarried. And I was, I think, 13 and watched her, you know, me as a little girl looking at my mom. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's loving. She's, you know, successful, all these things. To me, I looked at her as this perfect woman. And really she is. Everybody who knows her.
I love that.
She's an amazing woman. And so when I was 13 and she was pregnant with my youngest brother and she had gotten remarried, it was like a new chapter for us. And we were really excited and thought we were, you know, going to have this family put back together. I watched her go through, you know, him having an affair when she was 8 months pregnant and her still having to stay strong and crying in her closet and, you know, just things that as a young girl, but old enough to know what was going on, feeling so helpless and thinking, why, you know, and that really caused a lot of trust issues for me in any relationship that I was in. And that's something I've had to continue working on for myself and learning that, you know, well, one, they're going to do it regardless. Right. So constantly questioning and checking and hounding and wondering is only making myself go crazy.
Right.
But it's a really hard thing for me to trust people and then, you know, take business, you know, it's just all around because of that experience. I've had a hard time. And so then when somebody is treating me well, I'm like, when's the red flags going to start popping up?
Absolutely.
You know?
Oh, I can relate.
And you're in a new relationship.
Yeah.
Which I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Do you feel any trust issues?
I don't have trust issues with him now.
And I don't mean in regards to cheating, but you know what I mean?
Just in general.
Right.
Absolutely. I have always had trust issues in general because every situation I've ever been in, the most important people have hurt me. And every relationship I've been in has had some sort of level of cheating. With the relationship that I'm now in, and I can say wholeheartedly, it's the most normal, easy, just beautiful relationship and healthy that I've ever been in. But I had to really work through some things on my own. And I was really conscious not to like bear that on him because I was super aware of what I was feeling and why I was feeling certain ways, and acknowledging that it wasn't because he was doing something to make me feel that way. It was just all I knew.
Right.
And I even shared with him before, like when you're used to something that's just not good all the time in every circumstance that you try, and then you're all of a sudden presented with something that's good, you're kind of in like fight or flight mode still. So you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. So it wasn't necessarily that I didn't trust him. I just didn't believe that this was even possible, I think. And the only way for me to like fully be over, it was just time.
Right.
And obviously, like, to me, I mean, trust is something it's earned. It's not just an automatic thing, but yeah, I think that was definitely part of my PTSD.
Right. Yeah.
Just waiting like, when is this going to go bad? But.
And I mean, and I just want to be completely, transparent and just, I'm just curious, but when you've experienced sexual trauma pretty much your whole life, even in adulthood with relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an intimate thing. You don't ever get concerned that that's getting taken too far or worry, or you're able just to fully trust your relationship now. And the reason I ask is because there's a lot of people that I know go through similar situations, and they're not alone, but it's one of those things that you shelter and you don't really want to talk about too much because it's a very private, personal thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think for me personally, it was so important for me to be in this relationship and it not be based around sex and not based around how I look or how I'm performing or what I can do for this person physically or in any way down that avenue. And especially now, us both walking with Christ. And like, that's every aspect. So, and it's difficult, but being in a relationship where sex is something that we kind of took it out of the equation.
Right.
And so I know that this is so much more, and it's a lesson that I've really had to learn, like accepting that, somebody actually wants to be with me for so many other reasons, not just
emotional connection. Yeah. Experiences, laughter.
Yeah. So many other things. So yeah, that has definitely been like a learning experience, I think, for both of us too.
Yeah, definitely.
But
and it's crazy. I mean, and I respect everybody for their beliefs, disbeliefs, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could say that having faith in having a God-loving family household is important. I mean, this world's scary, and like raising children around just the unknown and the chaos and the mean and the bullying and, so much news on every platform now, not just your local news channel through cable,
everywhere.
It's everywhere. There's so much negativity, and home is a safe place, for us to stay faithful and raise our children that way. I feel like it makes such a difference to be able to have some peace.
It does.
With everything going on in this world,
Yeah, I think I've definitely experienced that. I think that's why my faith just grows stronger every day, because I see that in my own family. And not all of my kids are believers.
Right.
And obviously that's something that I pray for every day. But I see that with the our main foundation as a family. and some of my kids are believers. So just in general, either way, I see that the foundation it was always strong. So we were always a really tight family unit,
right?
Me and my kids, no matter what happened ever. But now it's just such a different type of foundation.
Right.
And it just seems to get stronger and stronger. And the way that it feels and the peace that comes with like everything that we go through, it's just totally different.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
4.
And you've raised them pretty much on your own?
On my own, yeah.
Wow.
There were a couple years throughout where some of them had visits with the other parent, but I've had them on my own for the most part.
How has that been?
It's been wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard.
It's been hard, but I actually I tell them this. I've had the time of my life raising them. It's selfish, but I thank God that I was given the opportunity and the strength to do it on my own. I don't know how certain things we made it through, honestly, but
yeah, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot just being a mom.
Yeah.
And doing it on your own while trying to figure out your life.
Yeah.
And
my oldest, I got pregnant with her when I was 15. So essentially, like that's all I know. My whole adult life. I mean, my teenagers, I've been a mom for my whole life.
Right.
So I don't really know anything else other than that, which is, I'm grateful for that though.
How old's your youngest?
He's 9.
9. Only boy of
He's the only
girls.
boy. Yeah.
Only boy of the house.
He's the one.
Bless his heart.
Oh yeah, bless my heart. Yeah, he's fun though. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
He's got a very, very cool personality. So
now, have you healed any of the trauma? I use the word trauma because it's traumatic experiences. And a lot of times I feel like people don't associate their life with trauma. And really it's because maybe there's unknown whether what they went through as a child is traumatic or not, or it becomes part of them. And then they realize, like you had said earlier, I now realized that back then it was not okay, but you were raised thinking, because that's such a young age, that this is the way that life is. That's, your purpose almost.
Yeah.
But, any therapy or like, what have you done before having faith again? Have you done to get through those things? Like when you weren't religious, what were you doing for yourself to get through hard times? Was it just talking to yourself, meditating?
Yeah. I mean, I always still prayed. I would just tell myself I wasn't praying to God. I was just praying. I've always been very spiritual.
Yeah.
But I really wasn't doing a whole lot, in all honesty. And I think that's why my life was so complicated and so hard most of the time, because I was just like, I had always had this sort of burden that I carried with me that I believed still that was my identity and who I was. And so it was something that needed to be healed for a long time. And I thought that I had, and it was to a certain extent, but I don't think that it was until just most recent year that I was truly, genuinely able to fully let go of that false identity that I had basically just clung to.
Right. And with children, I know through work, I see a lot, and I'm constantly maybe too much hounding my kids. Like if anything's happening or anyone's making you feel uncomfortable or if anyone's, touched you, please tell me. And that is my biggest fear.
Scary.
So scary. And I've been wanting to go through it yourself and having children.
Yeah.
What's your advice for maybe other mothers who've maybe experienced things, or just, your outlook on it when you were raising your children?
Yeah.
I'm sure not wanting them to go through similar things that you went through.
It's hard because I think just knowing in general that, and when you start talking about it, more people are like, me too, it happened to me too. I think for me, it was a couple different situations that happened and realities that I lived. The most scary one is that my, the person who was doing the things that they did to me, it was a female, and it was somebody who I was in their care for some time. So I think you would never suspect that.
No, honestly, no.
Yeah. And so, and as a parent, it's more scary because you think, okay, well, usually we think, you put your daughter in a man's skirt, that's not appropriate because something could happen or vice versa or whatever. But it really could be anywhere. In this world, like you mentioned earlier, it's a scary place. And I think my advice to parents would be just don't be naive because evil comes in like all different forms.
Right.
And if your kids tell you that something's going on with them, you have to listen to them.
Did you at that age?
Yeah.
Even at 5? Or when did you?
It actually went on for quite some time. At 5 wasn't that person. But with that person, when I did.
How old were you?
I was, I want to say 9 or 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was lots of things. It was collective.
Yeah.
Which is just, but I think just listening to your kids and little things turn into big things.
Right. And what was it? I just don't feel like going there, or I want to stay home. Or would you just say this is going on?
A collection of everything, honestly. Another thing that had happened actually happened at church. And so that was something that was another like unsuspecting thing. You think that's a safe place. I had specifically told my mom that I wasn't comfortable and I didn't want to be in this situation that I was being placed in. And it was totally disregarded because it was somebody that we looked up to that was a higher up in the church. And so it was unfathomable, I'm thinking, to my mom at the time. But it was something that was very real and I experienced it. Right. So I think listening to your kids, even if your kids just have a weird feeling, keeping that line of communication open with them. My daughter, we joke about everything, but it's kind of been my way of keeping the narrative in our conversations super open where they could say anything, right? And they know that nothing's going to be like too much for mom to hear, so that they'll be comfortable to tell me if in the event that anything ever was happening to them. So.
Yeah. And you trust that they do tell you?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. They tell me things that I don't even want to know or hear. They tell me. So I'm pretty confident. I would hope that they would never, because I know that that's something that's so common is people have shame because when something becomes super normal to you, especially when you're young.
Right.
And there's so many different variables, but you believe that you're just as guilty as the person who's assaulting you.
Right.
So.
That's just what's so terrifying. And it is, it's so common.
Common.
It's so common. And that's what it scares me. I'm like, just tell me. But it's like, then you hear of adults coming and telling, later on in life, and they went all those years just keeping that to themselves. And, my biggest thing is wanting to be able to have these conversations even though they're uncomfortable, and sometimes even sharing my story isn't always the most comfortable or going into details. But what I have learned through my journey is sharing the hardest parts of my life has helped other people feel comfortable to be able to speak up and seek help. And to me, that's all I can do with my past is surface it now for somebody else to not have to experience that pain or hurt any longer than they already have.
I love that. And I think that's so important because I don't think anybody ever wants to be the first person in the room to raise their hand and say, okay, this is me. This is what happened. We all want to have sort of that buffer. So if we can be that person to, like you said, say the things that are uncomfortable and share the details that are hard, it's going to give somebody else that comfort to say, me too.
Yeah, me too.
This is what happened.
Exactly. And a lot of people are holding on to it, and especially young girls nowadays. Yeah. There's just so much shift and change in social media and pressure and influence. And all of that, I fear for my daughter.
Yeah. That's scary.
It's very scary. Going to grow up with so much, and it's like, I don't even have the answers. So it's, as a mom,
changing all the time,
constantly. Yeah. And so speaking to other moms and, things that you've gone through that I haven't experienced and being able to recognize or understand or communicate that with my children is helpful. Even just this conversation.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. I think when you become more aware of it, it does become a little more scary because you start seeing you're like, it's literally everywhere. It's everything.
Right.
I think, but there's a narrative, and I believe that there is this spiritual warfare that's going on. And this is sort of the game plan is to sort of mold everybody to go off this way. And so that's where our job as believers and parents come in, where we keep their eyes, where they belong.
Absolutely.
That's on God. So
absolutely. And I want to talk about your business.
Okay.
You're a business owner too.
Yes.
Switch gears.
Oh gosh.
Talk about other stuff. But that's another headache too in itself, right?
I love being a business owner. I mean, it is a lot.
Yeah.
But then I think, okay, nobody would ever put up with me, being their employee ever. And I don't think I could ever. I just don't think I'm cut out for working for somebody else. Yeah.
There's some people that just need to work for themselves, and that's okay. And recognizing that, you're like, I own that. Yep. I definitely can.
And I know that right away. That's most definitely something that's a blessing.
What got you into your business?
It's not a very exciting story, to be totally honest with you. I just had a friend who was having her eyebrows done, and we lived out here, or we were working in the Bay Area, and she was going down south to have her eyebrows. I'm like, what the heck are you driving so far, paying $1,200 for your eyebrows?
Yeah.
And so she just kind of introduced me to this microblading, and I was like, what is this? So I'm finding, somebody to teach me how to do it. I just saw an opportunity, honestly.
Yeah.
But
you've made it very successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never would have imagined.
You have one location?
I have one now. Yeah. This is the third location that I've opened.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it's nice to have it nice and simple. This is the grand location.
Yeah. How long have you been in business for?
Almost 8 years.
Gets scary, right?
It does.
Now, does your business hit highs and lows too, or is it stay pretty consistent?
If you would have asked me that a year and a half-ish ago, I would have said, nope, it's been all highs. But we went through a good 7 months of the worst 7 months that I have had in my entire 8 years being in business.
Oh, wow.
Which was really scary.
And this is not even during COVID.
It was after COVID. Oh, during COVID, everybody, I was busier than you can imagine.
Crazy.
People wanted to meet me in the alley for their eyebrows.
Yeah. Right? The crazy things that people would do would be like, hey, through the back door and I'll still do your hair.
Absolutely.
And it's part of you is that rebellious side. I'm like, oh, you're not supposed to be doing my hair, but you're going to do my hair through the back door. Perfect. Sign me up. I'll be there.
Absolutely. And I waited. I did wait. I was very complicit to all of the rules. And then I got to a certain month where I was like, I still have a mortgage and all these kids.
Reality's knocking at your front door you still need to work.
Meet me in the alley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Screw it. I'll take my chances.
Yeah, for sure.
So why, I wonder, do you think just everything else? Because I feel we're going into a recession.
That's what I chalk it up to. I really do think. And people, my clients, I have the most amazing clients. And so many of them were just so honest, hey, I just need to push this out a couple of months. I just don't have the money right now. People were just scared to spend money, I think. And it's, being in the beauty industry, I think is, and this is the only time I've ever experienced such a low, but most of the time women will spend whatever we need to.
It is a necessity.
Yeah. We'll get our nails done before grocery shopping.
It is not a want.
It's not negotiable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is the good. I feel blessed in that sense that people consider it a necessity.
I consider it 100% a necessity.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. I tell my husband, he's just I'm like, do you want me to just take off my nails, hair?
You could do this.
But and girls who do not get their nails and hair done, they look beautiful the way they are. Just me personally, this is part of my character and who I am. And I do not feel myself if I don't have these things done.
It really
for me, it is
into mental health.
100% for me too. I agree. And sometimes I wish not so much. I wish I could just be okay with not needing these things. But I have, like I said, it's who I am. It's my character.
Same. I've tried that.
Yeah.
And 10 out of 10, I don't recommend. It's not for me.
Yeah, I have tried. Yeah. Oh, I will always try something new, and see can I live without? If I had to go without, of course, but if I can keep my character to my own personal standards for my own happiness, I'm going to do so.
I think that's important. We work pretty hard.
Yes.
So small things that I think that add up that make us feel good. I mean, anything that will make us feel good or better about ourselves. It's important. As vain as it sounds, I believe that it's important.
It's very important. Yeah. And, even working out, I mean, you work out a lot too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this week I took a couple days off because it's Christmas time.
It's Christmas time. I mean, I've been working out, but eating cookies every single day.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we took wellness shots today. Told myself over the weekend, I was like, okay, at least Monday through Friday, because then we're getting into Christmas. I'm going to add an extra 30 minutes to my workout routine, and I'm going to take wellness shots every single day.
I love that.
And just incorporate just small baby challenges
I love that
I can accomplish that are realistic and in reach.
From Shy?
Yeah, a little bit. Yes. I haven't even read her book yet.
Oh my gosh. I flipped through it and it's little shifts like that that accumulatively make a huge
100%. And I was always one. I've tried every fat diet I've done.
Have you?
Oh, yes. It's bad.
Yeah.
Not anymore. I mean, this year I can honestly say that I've given it an honest little changes throughout. And I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still making mistakes and getting back on track. But at least those little slip ups are a few days at most a week, not months.
You're always changing and evolving. And I think it's important to be gracious with yourself during, because this has to be a lifetime thing.
Right.
Not just a fad.
Exactly. And that's what I wanted to change.
Yeah.
Like, okay, tried all of those things and all it does is discourage me and make me feel worse.
Yeah.
Where I need to make a lifestyle change. And I think because I had watched so many people share that, it's almost like I wanted to believe there was something other than putting in the true honest work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This was me. And their before and afters are like 4 years apart. I'm like, 4 years? 4 years? You want me to do that for 4 years? That's a long time. Yeah. But it's that lifestyle change. And it's true. If you just do it the right way and the honest way, then you get the true long-lasting results.
Absolutely.
But then you feel so much better too. I mean, just with business, being able to have me time. And some people are like, well, how do you consider that you time? It is me time. It's for my mental health to be able to focus on, those natural endorphins when at one point in my life, I was replacing those natural endorphins with synthetic stuff that was not healthy by any means.
Similar to the feeling that you get. And you spend time in the spa or the sauna.
Yes.
Right?
I try to go in every morning.
Yeah.
That is my favorite. I feel like I have accomplished from that first alarm going off to really, I contemplate it every time.
Yeah.
Even though I've been doing it consistently, the second that alarm goes off, I'm like, should I go to the 9 a.m. or just go to the 5 p.m.?
And you're like calculating.
Yeah. I'm like, but then that would move my day around. Just get out of bed. Just go.
That's the hardest part because once you go, you're like, duh.
Yeah. And getting in the car after the sauna, like, accomplished. The sun's not even up yet. Yes. And I've already finished.
Gold. Yeah. I love it. That to me is the addicting part, which is so good. I love that part. I'm addicted to that.
Do you go to the sauna every day too?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is like that is my time for sure. I do everything in there.
Do you read in there?
I read, I pray, I cry, I meditate.
I wonder why the sauna feels like such a safe space.
I've been in different saunas. The one that I go to an all women's gym, which has been really, for me, so beneficial in changing my workouts. Yeah. But it's small and it's dark and it's very quiet.
Yeah.
And I'm usually the only one in there. And it just, I don't know. It just feels super serene. So I have that space to just kind of purge.
I know, it's nice.
Yeah.
Like now maybe I'll do a double day and go sit in the sauna.
I know. I've actually looked it up. Like, can you die going in the sauna too much?
I wonder if it's even healthy to go in 5 days a week. I mean,
I've heard that it's because you can deplete yourself. I don't know. I'm not an expert in any of this. I just know it feels good and it works for me.
Right.
But
that's 20 days.
Yeah.
Or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I've done worse things to myself. I'm pretty sure the sauna for 20 minutes a day is just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as we feel good and
What advice do you have for young girls that are going through different struggles in life? similar or different from yours. I mean,
Yeah.
you have daughters as well. So what advice do you have to different girls?
Gosh, I think my biggest piece of advice to girls would be to know that they do have a future, and they can decide what that future is. I think so many, and myself included, being young, I didn't see anything for myself. And so I just kind of went with whatever, again, going back to my past, whatever I thought was assigned to me or who I was, like presumed by everybody else. So if they're going down a path that is not good for them and they know it, it's like, it's never too late to turn and completely stop what you're doing and go the other direction. And it's okay to be different than everybody else. Everybody else is doing all these crazy, wild things. It's okay to be different and not do those things. You'll probably be way cooler than them in the future.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were recently talking to some students about a week ago, and it's very real when they say that if you don't, alcohol is the one substance that if you don't do it, something's wrong. So if you do any other drugs, there's, obviously like, it's wrong to do drugs.
Yeah.
But if you don't do alcohol, why not is the question.
Oh, yeah.
You don't? Well, how come? Are you pregnant?
Yeah.
And it's like,
just so normal.
It's so normal, so sociably acceptable that it's like simply because I don't, know, and I'm okay. I'm not going to, or, whatever it is. But exactly what you said is if everybody else is doing it and you're not, you actually are probably cooler than what everyone else is doing. Yeah. And that my advice, today is to anyone that's younger or even fresh in recovery or, sober curious, like, can I go to a party or can I go here?
Sober curious.
Yeah.
I love that. I've never heard that, but I love that.
One of my colleagues, Amanda Marino, she's amazing, and she does a lot of, she works in this field, and she speaks a lot on sober curious, which I love. It's not about full on recovery, but for people, for me, the way I look at it too is for people who maybe aren't dealing with an issue or alcoholism to where it's causing negative consequences or where they can consider themselves an addict or they're needing to go to rehab, because there's a lot of people out there who maybe aren't at that point, but also fearful that they can't go to a social gathering or an event without.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm
sober curious.
Yeah, that sounds intriguing.
Yeah. Absolutely. To be able to go to even a holiday party, Thanksgiving, and being able to go there and not drink like our people, and so some people are curious, and I feel like it's important to speak on that to our youth because they're not cool if they're not drinking at a party.
Yeah. I think we rely on alcohol. Personally, I know that I have so many times in the past relied on it for that self-confidence. And I think one of my greatest hopes is that for my daughter specifically, but for any youth, is that they feel confident enough to not have to rely on that.
Absolutely. Or not need it for a first date.
Right.
So many people need it to let loose or be comfortable or have that conversation or go out to that uncomfortable one-on-one dinner date. Yeah. And it's like, you don't. So it's like, how can we start teaching our youth at a younger age to be comfortable within themselves without needing something to make
mask
them
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but we keep working on it. I mean, that's all we can do, is try to change the narrative a little bit. And if it's what's normal to everybody and you're doing something different, I'd say you're doing something right.
I think so too. Because the right decision isn't always the easy one.
No, it's the hardest one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's easy to fail in school. It's hard to get an A. You have to study for that A.
Yep.
You have to sacrifice events, friends' time, whatever it is everyone else is doing on a Friday to study. And I feel like in life, that's the way I look at it. If I'm missing out on something because I'm setting that boundary for myself because I have different goals, that's okay. And if someone wants to call me crazy because you're getting up at 4:40 and you're doing this, and oh my gosh, well, why does she have 3 gym memberships? Well, I remember spending thousands of dollars a month on drugs that was going to kill me.
Yeah.
And no one really said anything about that.
Yeah.
But God forbid I go spend $250 a month on different gym memberships because I'm wanting to switch it up and keep it interesting and keep it fun for myself. It's, can you believe she's doing that?
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy.
You're just outside the norm, but you're doing what works for you.
That's okay.
That's healthy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Set you apart.
What do you hold on to when times get tough? I know that you are religious also. So is it that you pray? Is there a quote? Is there anything that you turn to when times are hard?
Now all I do is pray. When I gave my life to God, I literally begged him to take over and take my life and do with it whatever he needs to do. So I have full faith that even in tough times, and I've been really blessed this past year that it's been a good year.
Yeah.
But I do know that in tough times when they come, I'm prepared to be fully trusting that it's going to lead me where I need to be.
Yeah.
Because looking back, there were so many tough times where I saw absolutely no purpose.
Right.
And also no way out. And now being on the other side of it, I'm like, I see what she had going on there.
Yeah.
I see now.
Now you see.
So for me, it's just to cling to my faith.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
Shauna, thank you so much for coming on. And if anybody wants to follow your journey and see what your business is all about, how do they find you?
At Microbladed Eyebrows on Instagram. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you. Love you, girl.
So much. I love you.